I sometimes take for granted where I live, and a half an hour from my house is a park called Big Basin. It's a state park, and it's where some of the giant sequoias are still preserved. I have some friends, actually my wife's family, that came over from the UK, and her cousin had never been here before, so I decided to take him to see some big trees. Look at that crack. I spotted that crack, and it looks kind of fresh. You can tell the old burn marks. That tree has definitely got some strain on it. There's my wife and her cousins. But this opening here, I mean, somebody back in the 1800s might have used this as a campsite. They might have put something up in front of it. And of course they have a big slab there that shows you the dates. This particular slab, they figure it started in 544, and the tree, they took it all the way out to the end. This is a chunk of a piece that went down. I guess they cut the tree down in 1936. They have a little museum here with some of the tools, and that's always interesting to look at. It's especially interesting to look at some of the photos of the early loggers, and I tell you, you just can't. I mean, look at that piece there. That piece was chopped with an axe. That wasn't cut with a handsaw. That was cut, or chainsaw. That was cut with an axe a long time ago. Look at the size of that thing. Could you imagine cutting that with an axe? And you know, some of these trees are just so magnificent, and clearly there was a big fire that went through here a long time ago. Well, the location of the biggest trees in this part of the park are down in a low area where there is some water. There's a creek, and there's conveniently a log that goes across that somebody has. It looks like somebody's taken a little bit of effort and flattened off the top of it there. So of course I've got to walk across. It's if you ever get a chance to go to Big Basin, it's well worth it. It's located up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. There's my wife's cousins. This was called the animal tree. This is quite a growth of burl. Some of these trees in this park reach heights of up to 300 feet. And, oh, this is interesting. Look at the curl in the bark. When you see this in a tree, you know that that's going to transfer into the wood. And slabs of curly redwood, like this one right here, this particular slab sells for $4,500. So people that want this kind of wood are really looking desperately for it. But this old growth stuff is preserved. Thankfully, it's preserved. So all we're getting is the younger second growth trees. Now look at this old carcass. I thought this was just fascinating. It's still standing there. You can see all the fire scars inside. And who knows when the fire was? I asked one of the docents there, and they didn't know. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that's art. I mean, art in nature. I think I was just mesmerized. And I've been here so many times. I've been to this park over and over. But usually I only go there when I have guests that come to the park. Oh, you're going to like this. They call this the chimney tree. You go inside. It's not very big inside, but when you look up, all the way up to the top, it's hollowed out. And this tree is still alive, but at one point, it burned all the way through. I love looking at the root systems of some of these trees too, the massive burls the park is magnificent. There's a good one. They call this the mother of the forest. Andrew P. Hill, you should look him up. He was responsible for saving this particular forest of redwoods. That particular tree, they call that one the mother of the forest. They got a little sign there talking about it. And I kept going around on the trail. It'll take you all the way up to the base of the tree. And this one's called the father of the forest. This one's not quite as tall, but it's I think it's a pretty good sized tree. They're all huge trees. I mean, it's interesting that they single some of them out and name some of them, but this is what the natural forest land is supposed to look like, with a buildup of all the natural duff. They've separated out all the pathways, which is very important. There's some of the information back on the mother of the forest. There it is. That's the base of the mother of the forest. Why do they call it that? I don't know. Maybe it's one of the older trees. It's certainly one of the tallest trees. And at one point, the top broke out, so it was considerably taller. Oh, look at this. I think I'll confuse everybody. No, I can't do that. That would be wrong. Anyway, we had a great day just out walking around and looking at these trees. And there's several places in California that have these giant redwoods. You know, you can go to Sequoia National Park, and there's a big grove of them up in Yosemite National Park. And you go up to Northern California, and there's lots of huge trees. Here's where they used a lot of the logs from some of the trees to make this natural amphitheater. This was cool. I was looking at the way a lot of these trees were twisting and growing around each other. None of these are straight grain trees, and you can see the way the bark twists and turns. So these would not make good lumber at all. And that tree grows around itself. Look at that. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of Big Basin.